Well, thank you and welcome everybody to tonight's White Marsh Township Board of Supervisors meeting. I'd like to call it to order for December 10th, 2020 around 6 p.m. JC, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Fran, do we have any announcements?
Yes, Laura. Curbside leaf collection will end Tuesday, December 22nd, so the public works crews can change over the trucks for snow plowing. After December 22nd, residents who wish to dispose of leaves must bag or can them and place them curbside on Wednesday for collection with yard waste. If your trash and recycling are collected on Fridays, the holiday trash collection schedule will be moving collections from Friday, December 25th, which is Christmas Day, and January 1st, 2021, New Year's Day, to the prior Wednesdays, December 23rd and December 30th, respectively. Final reminder, the Church of St. Jude and the Nativity is accepting donations for local good pantries. The last collection day is next Saturday, December 19th, between 9 and 11 a.m. Thank you.
Thanks, Fran. No public hearings tonight, so I'd like to move to the approval of our minutes. Do I have a motion to adopt the meeting minutes from November 12th, 2020?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. We're going to go a little out of order here. We are excited to consider a new finance director tonight. So out of courtesy to Kevin, we're going to bump this up a little bit earlier. Do I have a motion to appoint Kevin S. Barron as the finance director and treasurer for White Marsh Township?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, thank you, Chair Nestor. I'm very excited and pleased to present to you and recommend to you Kevin Barron as the Finance Director and Treasurer for White Marsh Township to fill what was a vacant position. Just by way of background, Kevin, who's on the call, has worked in municipal finance for the past 31 years. Spent the majority of his career in Abington Township, working his way up through all facets of their finance department until he was named Finance Director. He recently moved on to Callan Township, where he's currently in the same position. Kevin has the experience to lead our finance department and has come highly recommended by his previous employers and those who have worked with him and for him. He's met all the conditions for employment. Kevin served in the U.S. Navy and earned a bachelor's degree in accounting from Philadelphia University. Kevin and his family reside in nearby Horsham Township. In accordance with the White Marsh Township Home Rule Charter, the Board of Supervisors appoint the Finance Director by affirmative vote. And as mentioned, Kevin is on this call with us. Kevin is concluding his time at Callan Township and very excited that he will be starting with us Monday, this coming Monday, and be working with our interim Finance Director, Allison Rudolph, to help transition him into the position. So we're really excited that he'll be joining us and in a quick fashion. It was an extensive search, numerous interviews, and Kevin was way and by far the most qualified and best person for this position here in White Marsh.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this. It's been a long process, a lot of time, and I appreciate Allison. I don't know if she's on this call for her time to jump in and help us through this. And Kevin, we're not giving you any break. You're going Friday to Monday. So, you know, this is a super busy time for you, I'm sure, but we really appreciate you being able to step in right away. You're welcome to share anything if you'd like. I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you want to, you're welcome to.
Thank you. I appreciate, Rick's kind words, and I'm looking forward to starting, the job on Monday. I know it's be a challenge for all of me and everybody else there. So again, I'm looking forward to work for White Marsh Township. Hopefully I'll finish my career out here and be able to retire and say I retired from White Marsh Township. So.
Excellent. And I like your background there. I don't know if you want to share your hobby, your interest.
Yes, I am very interested in baseball. I am a umpire for all different age groups. I do anywhere from 8, 9, 10-year-olds all the way up to junior legions, senior legions, and I do a lot of adult baseball umpiring. So my son played Division I baseball, so I got to watch him in college. And maybe the Phillies will do good this year. We have someone to root for because the Eagles aren't doing well right now. So.
I don't know. The Phillies might need your help too. And I know Michael might be interested to have a little sidebar conversation with you, as he does a lot with our White Marsh Little League. But thank you. Are there any board questions or comments?
I was just going to welcome Kevin. Happy to have you. As a president of Little League as well. Certainly happy to have you around to talk baseball with. Rick's a big baseball fan as well, so it's nice to add somebody else to the mix. And look forward to working with you here on the township board. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. I'd be glad. I was vice president of Horsham Little League for many years, so I'd be glad to help with umpires, whatever else I need to do. I ran the umpires at Horsham also too. So.
Well, just to be clear, that's not part of your job responsibilities.
Correct. Extra.
And Horsham's got an excellent program, an excellent softball program as well. My daughter played softball, and they won the district title almost every year. Excellent program up there. So we'll talk offline, as Laura said.
Sounds good. Thanks, Mike.
Great. Anybody else? Do we have any public comments? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Great, motion carries. Welcome, Kevin. Welcome to the team.
Thank you.
And I know you're leaving this to go over to another call, so.
Yes, we're having our final budget meeting tonight, and I'm going to hang on for a little bit as much as possible just to listen to things. So I'll put
Very
myself
good. You're
on
welcome
mute.
to stay.
Thank you.
Moving down to board public discussion items, review the SDL 09-19 for conference facilities at 800 Ridge Pike, which is a 2-lot minor subdivision. As you can see, the developer has withdrawn the application, so we will not be discussing that tonight. Rick, do you have any updates to share about that?
I'll just share that I received a call from the applicant's attorney yesterday. He indicated that he would like to withdraw the application. He did not give any reason as to why he was withdrawing the application, only that he would withdraw it. He provided an email to myself, the solicitor, to Mr. Guttenplan, indicating what I just stated, and therefore will not be pursuing that application at this time.
Very good. Okay. All right, so we're going to go down to the next public discussion item, which is review subdivision land development 07-18 for White Marsh Hotel Associates, LP 432 Pennsylvania Avenue, which is a minor land development plan with a Starbucks drive-through restaurant.
We can turn it over to Mr. Guttenplan to introduce the application.
Thank you. This is a site that I know the board has seen before when the Holiday Inn had a major overhaul a few years ago. You've seen a couple of other restaurant proposals for this site. The current proposal is for the smallest restaurant of the ones that we've seen. This is for a 2,600 square foot Starbucks with a drive-through and some outdoor seating. It's gone through the zoning hearing board, as does everything on this site. because of the floodplain that's there. And in addition, in this case, it needed a variance to allow for the outdoor dining, which is otherwise not permitted in the CRL commercial district. This was in front of the Planning Commission on October 27th, and the Planning Commission made a recommendation unanimously for granting of the waivers and recommending approval of the minor land development. The one discussion item, which you'll hear a little bit more about in a moment, I'm sure, was some pedestrian connections that the Montgomery County Planning Commission recommended. They in particular recommended a pedestrian connection from the Starbucks down to the southern end of the site, where this applicant has installed a portion of the Cross County Trail as part of the Holiday Inn revitalization plan several years ago. The applicant has since provided a plan showing how they will implement that. So that was the one major discussion item at the Planning Commission. So with that, I would like to introduce Amy Farrell, the attorney for the project, and I think she has a couple of plans she would like to share with you.
Thanks, Charlie. And yes, good evening, everybody. Amy Farrell with Kaplan Stewart. We're the attorneys for the applicant in this matter. I do have a short presentation if I'm able to share my screen. I'm happy to do that. We can give you a little bit of background on how this project has evolved and what you will see as part of the final step of this proposed redevelopment.
Amy, you should be able to share.
Okay, I'm going to do that right now. Can you all see that? Everyone can see what's up on the screen right now. This is, as I said, 432 Pennsylvania Avenue. This is the last piece of the redevelopment of the Holiday Inn site. So if you remember back in 2014, so we've been kicking around on this project for a while now. When we first came in, it was for an overall redevelopment of the site. At the time in 2014, there was a 230 room hotel tower together with a little more than 9,000 square feet of a single story lobby with conference center and multiple restaurants in it. There was, as you can see on the sort of what I would call right side of the plan, very limited buffering. The parking went right up to the property line along most of that eastern edge. The county trail that did exist along the rear of the property was only partially completed and did not go any further than really that sort of back edge of the property parallel to the SEPTA tracks. And there were 435 surface parking spaces at the time in 2014. At that time, the owners of the hotel site did not own, as you can see, those two additional commercial properties that sort of created this odd little U shape at the top of the property here. As part of the original proposal and original approvals that were finalized in 2017, the proposal was to remove a large portion of that single-story lobby, to convert the hotel tower by reconfiguring some of the hotel rooms down to 168 hotel rooms. Nicer, more contemporary sized hotel rooms resulted in an overall reduction in the number of rooms. There was also approved at that time an 8,000 square foot restaurant immediately adjacent to the hotel, as well as what was then a proposed Starbucks out on what I'll call the left-hand side of the plan, if you will, adjacent to the SEPTA lot. The county trail, as part of that approval, was required to be extended along the eastern edge of the property line, which we did. That has been completed for several years now. There were also expanded stormwater management and a lot of internal parking lot landscaping and parking lot buffering that was completed as part of that 2017 approval. We were back before you in 2018 when the property was subdivided. At that point, the owner had acquired those two additional commercial lots. The property was consolidated and then a piece was subdivided off and redeveloped as the Audi Fort Washington. At that time, when we came back in, what we were looking to do was to reduce the size of that originally approved 8,000 square foot hotel restaurant, down to a little more than 6,000 square feet. So that was the last proposal that you saw from us just back in 2018. The restaurant market changed pretty substantially almost immediately on the heels of that approval. And so everything has been in a bit of flux in the interim, and we're happy to say we're back now with, again, a much more streamlined plan and one that is much further along than where we were when we were looking at that 6,000 square foot restaurant. So the proposal now, everything else in the site remains the same. The intention is to leave all of the other improvements in place, the county trail, for example, all of those interior parking lot improvements, all of that buffering that was added along the property edges, to eliminate that little more than 6,000 square foot restaurant in favor of a 2,600 square foot Starbucks with a drive-through and some outdoor dining, as Charlie indicated. This is the overall land development plan. As Charlie indicated, we did go to the zoning hearing board and the planning commission in connection with the overall proposal. These are the existing conditions as they exist currently. And it's this area right here where the lobby was taken down, where the Starbucks will go. You can see on this plan the proposed Starbucks restaurant with the drive-through, with outdoor dining. The outdoor dining is closer to Pennsylvania Avenue. And as Charlie was indicating, one of the topics of discussion at the Planning Commission that was precipitated in part by comments from the Montgomery County Planning Commission was looking at a way to make an additional connection from that Starbucks to the county trail along the rear of the property. We're really cognizant of a couple of existing trees and a lot of the landscaping work that was done to really green up this parking lot in the last piece of the redevelopment. So we didn't want to take all that out. So we worked with township staff to come up with a plan that will allow for areas within each of those existing islands where you will be able to, there will be sidewalk, you will be able to stop. So somebody who's coming along the trail can cross a painted crosswalk into those islands. So they will have areas where they can stop and be out of the path of any kind of internal parking traffic, cross another crosswalk into, again, another landing spot, if you will, within those parking islands. So a paved area will be sort of cut into the edge of those to allow us to retain the trees and all the landscaping that exists, but also to provide some area of refuge for folks who are crossing along there. This is just a generally slightly larger plan to show you just in a rendered form what to expect. So you can see there's, we're still capturing quite a fair amount of green space at the rear there. This has also allowed us to reconfigure the existing loading and trash areas so that they're tucked well behind the hotel lobby building now. They are completely within a fenced enclosure, and they'll be generally out of the way of both, visually from Pennsylvania Avenue and out of the way of the general traffic that's moving to and through the site. And this is just to give you a sense of the Starbucks as presented to both the zoning hearing board and the planning commission. This is one of their more current, more contemporary designs with a comfortable outdoor dining area that's closest to Pennsylvania Avenue. So it will sort of sit in here, right where my cursor is right now. That allows for a couple of things. Of course, certainly with the current COVID situation, it provides an opportunity for a pickup window at the exterior as well. So if folks don't want to come into the restaurant to pick up their order, they can park and come up to the pickup window. It also provides an opportunity for some outdoor dining so that folks can sit and actually enjoy their takeaway food if if they're not able to sit in the restaurant itself. We have been, I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. I certainly can put this back up if we need to. We have been through review letters with all of the township staff. We will comply as to those review letters with the exception of the waivers that we've requested and that have been outlined in the draft resolution that the solicitor's office has prepared, which I believe is in your packets for this evening. We have been back and forth with Mr. Kilkenny's office on that resolution, and we have no objection to any of the language in the resolution at this point. So we think this project is ready to go after a long 6-7+ years. I'm sure you're sick of listening to us about it. We're happy to certainly answer any questions that you have, but I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I do have both our civil engineer and our traffic engineer, as well as 2 of our owner's reps on the call tonight, should anybody have any specific questions.
Thank you, Amy. And thank you, Charlie. That was great. And yeah, you've gone through a lot of changes there. It looks really nice, very green. Does the trail, I understand where it connects behind. Where does it continue on?
Let me share my screen again for you.
Just curious, like on how, like what
Yep.
is
So
further down?
give me one sec. Is that back up on your screens?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me go back. So this plan here shows this is the Starbucks as it will be proposed, but what you're seeing along the rear here, where my cursor is now, that's the connection that we did as part of the first phase of this land development. So when we first came in, the SEPTA lot is over here to the left. The trail as it existed at the time was just a sort of paved trail that went along behind what's now the Audi development and pretty much stopped right at that little knuckle in the property line there. We then, as part of the original land development, continued that trail all the way along and back out to Pennsylvania Avenue. So the entire length of this property now is improved with that trail. And we're now going to add that connection in through the parking lot so that if you're coming along from SEPTA, for example, and you want to cross into the site, you can cross right at these crosswalks along those 2 parking islands and into the Starbucks piece.
Thank you. Yeah, it's much more extensive going up the side there with the trail. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a substantial improvement that was done as part of the first piece of this land development. Yep.
Are there any board comments or questions?
Chair Nestor, maybe you want to ask Mr. Hirsch or a representative from his office just to comment, because obviously you have to approve the resolution, but there's a whole series of waivers as part of the resolution from A through J, and just want to make sure that he's comfortable with them and has no objection, and see if the board had any questions about any of the waivers.
Sure, Jim.
Thanks, Sean. So my office has no objection to any of the waiver requests, but if anyone has any specific comments on each of the waivers, I would be more than happy to answer them.
No?
No, anybody have any questions? Any need to walk through anything? Okay. Thanks, Jim. Any other highlights you'd like to, you're approving this, you're comfortable with it? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we are comfortable with it. Stormwater management has been handled previously because there was a larger restaurant proposed on the site that was contemplated in the stormwater management design. So this reduces impervious on the site, and thus there's no stormwater management necessary.
Thanks. Do we have any public comments? I don't see any there. Let me know if you do see something. Okay, it seems like everybody is comfortable, I think, to move this down to a resolution. So do I have a motion to adopt resolution 2020-27, granting conditional preliminary final minor land development plan approval for the subdivision land development 07-18 White Marsh Hotel Associates LP at 432 Pennsylvania Avenue for a Starbucks drive-through restaurant?
And just to be clear, Chair Boyle-Nestor, just make sure we add in and granting all appropriate, all waivers within the resolution. So we're approving the resolution and the waivers, just so it's clear for the record.
Do you want me to restate that?
You stated the motion, just add and all waivers. That's
And all waivers. There we
Okay,
go.
great.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Meller, can you please call the roll?
Or Mr. McCusker,
Yes.
Ms. Toll,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mr. Drosner,
Yes.
Chair Nestor.
Yes. Great. Well, that passes. Thank you.
Great.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody.
Thanks, Amy.
Take care.
Okay, so moving down to the next public discussion item, which is review the subdivision land development 0520 Emergency Care Research Institute, ECRI, at 5200 Butler Pike, which is a land development waiver, building area reduction, and parking modifications. Charlie?
Thank you. This is an unusual one. This is kind of a reverse land development, something we don't see very often. ECRI has seen a change in their workers' protocol as a result of COVID and sees that that may be continuing for some time, and they have excess building area that they wish to remove. There's a one-story portion of their building that they're proposing to remove, and in its place will be primarily green space, a enhanced entryway to the existing building that will remain, and a bioswale to handle some stormwater. So this will result in a reduction in impervious coverage. And they do need an earth disturbance permit in order to do this because the amount of disturbance, not because the amount of impervious coverage. And they are already in the process of obtaining that earth disturbance permit. This was also in front of the Planning Commission at their November 10th meeting. The Planning Commission was very pleased to see the return to green, and their only concern was that this be done in an environmentally sensitive way as possible, and they requested that the bioswale area be landscaped in a sensitive way with native plantings and with a layered landscape plan. And the applicant will be discussing that this evening, and they've already responded to that with a plan which they've submitted as part of their earth disturbance permit application. So the Planning Commission's ultimate recommendation was approval of the land development waiver with that condition for the bioswale. With that, I would like to turn it over to Bob Jordan, Woodrow Associates. And as you can see, he's got some plans he'd like to share with you.
Good evening, everybody. Bob Jordan with Woodrow Associates. With me this evening is Dan Sabatino from the general contracting firm that will be handling the construction of these improvements on behalf of ECRI. Before you is the existing features plan. Please recall approximately 3-4 years ago, this plan was before you for a subdivision where ECRI purchased the Lulu portion of the stable area and some of the parking facilities to help serve the parking needs with their building and in their use. Last year, this plan was before you also for a waiver of land development for the construction of this extra boulevard, which links the parking area that they purchased from Lulu with their existing facility and tied it all together. This proposal, as Charlie pointed out, is to remove a large portion of the existing building, the one-story portion of the building, with the two-story portion remaining. They would construct within the footprint of the building a drop-off and delivery area, along with some access for deliveries and stuff like that to the back portion of the side portion of the building. As Charlie mentioned, we were before the Planning Commission last month where they had some concerns about the sensitivity and wanted some bioplantings put in this bioswale. So we most certainly have done that, and this plan is a representation of that. As you can see, with the removal of this building, we greatly enhanced the green space in the near proximity of the waterway services comes from the existing pond. And that's pretty much it. We're here tonight seeking a waiver of land development pursuant to this plan. We are in receipt of Charlie's review letter dated November 4th and the fire marshal's review letter dated October 12th. And we have no issues with either of those and no will comply items. So we're here tonight seeking a waiver of land development from the board. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. Jim, I don't know if you want to chime in on anything, or Charlie, anything further?
I have nothing further. I think this is a great plan, and I think they've come a long way already with the landscape plan, and I'm sure that will get reviewed as part of the grading permit, and I'm sure it'll be a great plan when it's done.
Second,
Okay.
everything Charlie said. I got no comments.
Do we have any board questions? Okay, I'm gonna say everybody says the same thing and says it's good. Do we have any public comments? Okay. So it seems like everybody's comfortable. I'm gonna move this down to a resolution as well. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution 2020-28, granting a land development waiver for the subdivision land development 05-20, Emergency Care Research Institute, ECRI, 5200 Butler Pike for building area reduction and parking modifications?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Mr. Miller, please call the roll.
Mr. McCusker,
yes.
Ms. Toll,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mr. Drosner,
Yes.
Chair Nestor.
Yes. Wonderful. Well, thank you. That passes. Thank you guys for coming in. Appreciate your time. Good luck with the plan.
Very much. Thank you for your time tonight.
Okay, we're going to move down to ordinances. Let me make sure I'm following the agenda here. Okay, do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 1004 to amend chapter 37 alarms to add a new penalty for more than 3 false alarm activations within any 12-month period?
So moved.
Second,
Rick, do you want to take this? Is Nick
Or
on this call?
no, he's not on this call. I'll take this.
Okay.
I think pretty self-explanatory, that we just wanted to make sure in Nick's recommendation that we had some teeth for those that would have multiple false alarms in a 12-month period. This was also something that was discussed at the Emergency Service Board level. They recommended this amendment to the ordinance so that, again, the trucks can, not going back out when it is a false alarm, and that is certainly defined in the ordinance. And if there's more than 3 in a 12-month period, the property owner could be subject to fine and penalties.
Thanks, Rick. Yeah, that makes sense. Are there any board questions? Do we have any public comments? Mr. Miller, will you please call the roll?
Mr. McCusker,
yes.
Ms. Toll,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mr. Drosner,
Yes.
Chair Nestor.
Yes. Wonderful. That passes. Thank you. So we're going down to consider real estate tax ordinance. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 1005, fixing the tax millage rate at 2.3633 for all real property within White Marsh Township for the year 2021?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Miller?
Thank you, Chair Nestor. This is good news, that given the hardships that maybe COVID has caused this year, that the township's real estate tax will remain the same. We will go through the budget and how we were able to balance that budget when we get to that part of considering the operating and capital budget part of the agenda. But the good news is that we were able to balance the budget, and the millage will remain the same as it was in 2020 for the upcoming year, 2021.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm very thankful for this. Do we have any board comments or questions? Any public comments? Mr. Miller, please call the roll.
Mr. McCusker,
Yes.
Ms. Toll,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mr. Drosner,
Yes.
Chair Nestor.
Yes. Great. Okay, well, now we're just moving down further through resolutions. Down to the budget. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 29, authorizing the 2020 budget amendments?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Chair Nestor. And this is part of the 2020 budget, our current budget that we're required to do by the Township's Home Rule Charter. We have to do the budget transfers. The budget transfers in this case here for this year provide for capital equipment reserve. It's basically a depreciation account that allows us to put money into a capital equipment account for future purchase of vehicles in our Public Works Department. The second is with regards to the fire company that is putting the portion of the millage that we receive, those funds, into a capital reserve for the fire companies to be utilized for capital purchases between Barron Hill Volunteer Fire Company and Spring Mill Fire Company.
Thank you. Do we have any board comments or questions? Do we have any public comments? Seeing none, Mr. Miller, will you please call the roll?
Mr. McCusker,
Yes.
Ms. Toll,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mr. Drosner,
Yes.
Chair Nestor.
Yes. Thank you. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 30, authorizing the 2020 interfund balance transfers?
So moved.
Second.
Rick, I'm just going to let you keep talking.
Okay, thank you. So again, this is required as part of the Township's Home Rule Charter that as part of the 2020 budget, which was adopted, this is the actual mechanism of moving funds from one fund to the other. Again, this was part of the adopted 2020 budget. This is actually the funds that get transferred from one fund to the other. As you can see, and has been provided, things moving from the general fund to the open space fund, refuse fund to the general fund, and so on. Again, all part of the 2020 adopted budget, but a requirement at this point for the per the Home Rule Charter.
Thank you. Do we have any board comments or questions? Do we have any public comments? Mr. Miller, please call the roll.
Sure, Mr. McCusker,
Yes.
Ms. Toll,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mr. Drosner,
Yes.
Chair Nestor.
Yes. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution 31, authorizing an operating and capital plan budget for 2021?
So moved.
Second.
All right.
Okay. So here's where we go over how we got to the balanced budget. And that is really the overlying good news with regards to our budget. As you recall, when we last met in November, we had a preliminary budget, which was our work budget, that was showing approximately about $1 million deficit. And again, those numbers were being utilized from the end of August. So we generally will see a lot of change. We're always hoping for positive change as we go through the budget process. And that is what we have seen here. And I'm going to share my screen here with the presentation that was in your packets and shared on the website as we go through it. So hopefully everybody can see this moving forward here. There we go. Okay, as far as the budget process, as was mentioned previously and throughout this budget process, there's been multiple stages of the budget process. The work budget was provided to the supervisors per the Home Rule Charter on October the 1st. On October 19th and 26th, we had 2 public workshops where we heard from our departments and our ancillary groups. And then at our November 12th Board of Supervisors meeting, the board adopted the preliminary budget again with an approximate deficit of $1 million. We're here today at the 10th to adopt the final budget and levy the taxes for 2021, which you've already done, and they have not changed from 2020. So no increase, which is good news. As far as the total revenues, just under 24 million in revenues and expenditures. That's just a little bit more than 2.5% increase from the previous budget. And I think it's to note, given the difficulties that COVID has presented, we still saw an increase of over 2.5% in our revenues. And that's really the story that I'm going to be sharing with you as we move along in this presentation that allowed us to balance this budget. Looking at the carry forward budget, so we're looking at our 2020 revenues, and we saw some really incredible positive variances with regards to the 2020 revenue numbers. The first was in real estate transfer taxes. I can tell you that for the last several years, we've seen a lot of homes that are purchased in that 400,000 and I would say under range, and they would move at a pretty rapid pace. What we're seeing now is those above 500,000 to in excess of 2 million moving. The market is really moving. The real estate market is incredibly favorable and continuing to be very hot in this area. And I say White Marsh, it's really this entire region where we are seeing a lot of transfers of existing homes. We currently do have a couple developments that are still coming online, but we also are seeing that when existing homes go on the market, it's multiple bids and it's for very high asking prices. So that was something that is positive. I can tell you, even from the number that we projected to this point, we're already over it with the transfer that came in November. So obviously we had to post this, but we're already above the number that we needed to balance the budget. So that's a really good sign. Next item is the earned income taxes. Earned income taxes are collected by Berkheimer in Montgomery County. They provide the projections for us. We've also seen a positive variance with regards to our earned income tax. One of the reasons for that is that the population here has been able to work from home and continue to earn. So from that standpoint, it's been positive. The other positive there is that those that were working in the city of Philadelphia that are working in the suburbs and working from home were able to remit their taxes to the township. So that was another boom that we've seen with regards to our earned income tax. So that was very much a positive that we saw. And again, even since we've posted this balanced agenda, we've seen that we've hit and exceeded that number already as well. So, another positive there. As far as state pension relief, those numbers, that's the pension money that we received, that was an uptick than what we were expecting. The kind of good and bad with the next two is our business privilege and our mercantile. One's good, one's bad. So it almost kind of balances each other out. And that's really to be expected. One of the hardest hit areas is our business community. And, with some of the work stoppages and so on, and obviously kind of going back into that from today's announcement, we have seen that has had, a negative impact for us. The business privilege and the mercantile kind of balance each other out. Some of the others that we've seen, there's been some transfer to the capital as well as some insurance recoveries. As far as the 2020 expenditures, one of the mechanisms that we utilized in balancing the budget was a decrease in the transfer to the capital fund. We were expecting to transfer about $687,000. We used $187,000 of that to help balance the budget. So there'll still be a transfer to the capital in the amount of $500,000. And moving forward, looking at the numbers for 2021 in terms of our budget adjustments. You can see there that some of these adjustments are being based on what we are seeing as far as the end of this year and what we're projecting into next year. And again, with regards to our real estate transfer tax, that's still a very conservative number that we're using. We increased that by $150,000. That is also based on us talking with our building and codes, knowing as far as UNOs that are going to be issued, or we anticipate they be issued for some of the residential developments that are probably going to be completed in 2021. So we know that those will come online. Again, with regards to our earned income tax and working with Berkheimer, they have shown better variances for next year. So they've given us some better projections. So that all of that increased revenues to the tune of $250,000. With regards to expenditures for next year, one was the police department. That was the allocation as part of settling the contract and providing them a 3-year extension. One thing that we talked about extensively during the budget meetings as well as during the preliminary budget is with regards to our health insurance premiums and how well and successful it's been being part of the Delaware Valley Trust and being part of a risk pool. We have saved there over $200,000 with regards to premiums without reducing any of the health care for the employees. So that was certainly very much a positive. So there's been some budget adjustments there. I can tell you as kind of an aside too, the departments have really done a good job of controlling their spending. Obviously, we had some time when we weren't actually here physically. So that has helped with some of the reduction in expenditures and understanding if projects could be pushed off until later or next year. This budget also includes funding levels for all the ancillary groups to remain the same. Our fire and our library will see a bit of an uptick just because of the millage and the assessed value going up. And when the assessed value of the township increases, the millage and the real estate revenue increases. So there could be a slight uptick in both of those funds. But all the ancillary groups funding will remain the same, which I know was important to the board, especially with the difficulty that we have faced this year. And also not being nearsighted in trying to just balance this budget and then kick the can down the road and be in trouble in 2021 when we look at 2022. So we are projecting this out. We are looking at this from that standpoint. So from that, and just a breakdown of that just under 24 million, 23.9 million. We've showed this chart before. This is updated. The majority, over 13 million, comes from Act 511. That's our earned income tax, our local services, open space EIT, as mentioned with our business privilege and mercantile. Our real estate tax, recall earlier this year, in response to COVID and businesses and potential people losing employment or being furloughed, we extended the discount period. What we found is people still paid their real estate taxes, so they came in as projected there for this year. So that is all of that is helped with our fund forward over carry forward over $2 million. Looking at the general fund expenditures, no different than any municipality that has a municipal police force. That is our largest expenditure. Again, we've done a really good job, and we think that between now and the end of the year, we're going to have even some more positive variances. We use very conservative numbers, and still we're able to get to a balanced budget. But the money that isn't spent in 2020 will be part of the cash carry forward in 2021. So again, we're still trying to control spending the rest of the way, but at least for now, what we're showing, which is important, is a balanced budget. Looking at real estate taxes, based on 2020 assessed value of just over 170,000, the median real estate tax is $5,000 in White Marsh. I know that doesn't apply to everybody. Some are more, some are less, but I think it's important to see kind of the breakdown of where your tax dollars go. The majority, as it is with any suburban community, is with the school district. 79% of your total, so 79% of that total, just over $5,000, will go to the school district, approximately $4,000. 13%, 12 for Montgomery County, 1 for the community college, goes to Montgomery County, and then the township has the smallest percentage there. So of the average tax bill, 405 of it go to the township to provide the services that are provided. So that is the operating budget. As was mentioned in the resolution, you have the capital budget. The capital budget, which I have, and I'm not going to go through piece by piece here, is about, sorry, give me a second. Was a little quick with clicking. Total capital budget, we do a 3-year capital improvement plan. So it's 21, 22, and 23. The capital plan is looked at on an annual basis. It can move, it's a living and breathing document, but it really does set forth some of the goals for the board moving in the township moving forward. This capital improvement plan is approximately $5.5 million for those 3 years. Extensive amount in there is still completing, and we're getting closer to completing the intersection improvements. We have we have actually 4 of the intersections that are done. We just have opened up Stenton, Flowertown, and Cricket, as well as Stenton and Joshua to traffic. So they are moving through, and as anyone who's been through the Joshua Road and Flowertown Road, they are starting the work. They have started the work there. So they'll move around all 4 legs of that as well. And that should be completed in the spring of 2021. And then that will end the roadway improvements related to Creekside there. So that is the capital improvement plan. We do not have funding at this point proposed in the 2021 budget to go over there. We have an extensive amount of funding already in our reserves. We do have over the best management practice amount for our rainy day fund. Sorry. So from that standpoint, we do have ample reserves. The good thing is we didn't have to tap into any of that. We're very fortunate, and the population that we do have has really been able to continue to, quite frankly, thrive. When you look at some of the economic indicators, which is earned income tax during COVID. That doesn't mean that folks still aren't struggling. And I was just on a discussion with our partners in Eastern Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce today, and trying to work as our municipal partners all work with our businesses as well. So from that standpoint, it is good news. One, there's no tax increase, which is always good news, as well as we're able to put forth a balanced budget, and I think a responsible budget for the board that's going to allow us to move forward in 2021 and fiscally responsible way in years ahead. Happy to answer any questions. The one thing that I would like to say before I turn it over back to Chair Nestor is I want to thank the department heads who have worked extremely hard in putting this budget together. They've taken many looks at their budget, many discussions, and many iterations to get where it is. I'd like to thank our interim finance director, Allison Rudolph, and her team in working with them in that transition to help put together the numbers that we have before you today. That's been a challenge when you have someone that leaves in that position during the budget, but I'm thankful to have somebody of Allison's experience to be able to work through the issues and work through the budget to get it balanced that we have and presenting to the board this evening. So with that, Chair Nestor, I'll turn it back over to you and happy to answer any questions that you or the board may have.
Thank you so much. And I just echo your sentiments there. And Allison, thank you. And I just greatly appreciate your time here and helping make Kevin's first day be probably a lot more tolerable than if you were not here. And certainly all of us being able to move through this very difficult year and have a balanced budget. All the department heads and everybody's involvement has been greatly appreciated. Do we have any board comments or questions?
I'll just jump in real quick here, Laura. I think that I'll echo Rick's sentiments about the department directors. They all came to the meetings well prepared, and they really knew what needed to be done. And Allison, thank you for stepping in as well. But I can't forget, Nate, before he left, he did balance the budget and helped us do that. So kudos to Nate. And but again, welcome to Kevin. So you come in with a balanced budget and a lot of good hope for 2021, that's for sure. So that's it.
Thanks, Fran. Anybody else have any comments? Open it up to public comments. Okay. Mr. Miller, please call the roll.
Mr. McCusker,
Yes.
Ms. Toll,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mr. Drosner,
Yes.
Chair Nestor.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. That's big. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 32, authorizing the 2021 refuse fee of $340 per residential dwelling unit for the collection and disposal of trash and garbage?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Miller, any comments related to this?
No comments. There's no change in the trash fee for this year. It's the same as, I'm sorry, next year. It's the same as this year.
Very good. Okay, any board comments? Any public comments? Mr. Miller, please call the roll.
Mr. McCusker,
Yes.
Ms. Toll,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mr. Drosner,
Yes.
Chair Nestor.
Yes. Moving right along, do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 33, authorizing the 2020 assessment rate for the street light at 45 cents per foot, safety light at 24 cents per foot, and fire hydrant at 14 cents per foot?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Miller, I don't think there's any change here either.
No change, Chair Nestor. Same rates as this year and for as long back as I can remember.
Okay. Any board comment? Any public comment? Mr. Miller, please call the roll.
Mr. McCusker,
Yes.
Ms. Toll,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mr. Drosner,
Yes.
Chair Nestor.
Yes. Excellent. Thank you. Do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 34, authorizing the 2021 fee schedule, which will take effect on January 1st, 2021?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Miller, I think there were some,
Yeah, so we do the annual
changes
fee
with this.
schedule each year. So we are looking at all of our fees, all of our permit fees, all of the fees that are related to Parks and Recreation. So all of the departments come in, they provide their fee suggestions, they're reviewed. Most of these, again, are just covering costs that we have and that are related to the individual fees. In building and codes, there's been some adjustments, combining of fees, better ways in which the fees are calculated. Fire marshal, obviously, with some of the 2015 fire code being adopted, this was the appropriate time to include those fees associated with the fire code. Parks and Recreation, they have the most extensive amount there, and they're covering various fees for various programs. We do this by resolution so that if during the year a fee needs to be adjusted, added, deleted, we could do it by simple resolution as opposed to an ordinance. So this will set the fee schedule starting January 1, 2021.
Thanks. Do we have any board comments or questions? Do we have any public comments? Mr. Miller, please call the roll.
Mr. McCusker,
Yes.
Ms. Toll,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Mr. Drosner,
Yes.
Chair Nestor.
Yes. Thank you, everybody, for getting through that part of the meeting tonight with the budget. You know, I really appreciate everybody's time again. We're moving down to motions. And do I have a motion to approve expenditures totaling $1,905,947.91 and payroll totaling $656,694.30 and pension paid costs totaling $3,609.08 for November 2020?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Very good. And Mr. Miller, I don't know that I need to amend the agenda because it was already amended prior, correct?
That's correct. An amended agenda was posted to the website indicating the certificates of appropriateness.
Okay, so we have a bunch of these. This was just through HARB, I believe, this week. So we are going down to the certificate of appropriatenesses. Do I have a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness to remove 2 garages at 337 Spring Mill Road?
So moved.
Second.
Charlie?
Charlie, you're on mute.
The first one, as you mentioned, that you just made the motion for, is for 3037 Spring Mill Road. This is one of the historic homes that was preserved as part of the Maple Hill development. Here's the plan. Catherine Lane with the new homes is shown as the cul-de-sac. The highlighted lots are the location of 3037. There are 2 garages that were built at some point much more recently than the home. The home dates back to the early 1800s. These garages, we don't know the dates, but they were built with cinder block, which is a much more recent construction tool, so they are definitely not historic, and they are in very poor condition. They are unsafe, and the concern is that they could collapse and someone could get hurt. I've just included one double picture here giving you an indication of the condition of these garages. And the HARB met yesterday, December 9th in the morning, and reviewed this application. And based on the safety concerns and the fact that these are not historic buildings, they made a unanimous recommendation to recommend approval of certificate of appropriateness so they could be removed.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Do we have any board comments or questions? Do we have any public comments?
Yes, I'd like to speak, please. Sidel Zoe, Harts Ridge Road. I'm not quite sure what definition is being applied to the term historic, but what concerns me here is that these garages are part of the historic Maple Hill homestead. And what especially bothers me is that these garages were allowed to deteriorate to their current state. And I've raised this before with regard to other structures in the Plymouth Meeting Historic District, that the township really does need to enforce the historic district provisions which prohibit demolition by neglect. This is a perfect example. This is an example of older buildings. I don't know how old they are, but they are older buildings, part of a historic homestead, that have been allowed to deteriorate to the point where they have to be demolished. I don't know the circumstances here, but I certainly hope that the township vigorously enforces the historic district requirements and ensures that something like this doesn't happen elsewhere with buildings that date to the 17 and 1800s in particular. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness for the installation of a stairway and door to a basement at 113 Black Walnut Lane?
So moved.
Second.
Harley?
Thank you. This is in the subdivision adjacent to Maple Hill. This is a subdivision of about 20 years old. This house that we're talking about right now was actually built in 2002. This is the location of it on Black Walnut Lane. The applicant is proposing a future improvement to their basement to make that into living space. And as a result, they want to have and need to have a secondary access from the basement. So they're proposing essentially an outside stairway with Bilko door, similar to what you've probably seen on many homes. This is a rough site plan. Where it says not to scale, you can imagine that's the street. The X on the right corner on the side of the building is where the proposed exterior stairway will be. And this is just an example that they provided of a similar appearing Bilko door and exterior stairway. And again, this was in front of the HARB yesterday morning, and HARB made a unanimous recommendation for approval of certificate of appropriateness.
Thank you. Do we have any board comments or questions? Any public comments? Seeing, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness for the installation of a deck expansion at 133 Black Walnut Lane?
So moved.
Second.
Charlie, all you.
Okay, again, we're in the same subdivision. Another home on the other end of the Black Walnut Lane loop. This home was also built in 2002 and has a current deck that was there when the current owner purchased it. It is deteriorated. The existing deck that we're talking about is shown in red, and that is proposed to be rebuilt. And the areas that are, it's technically green, it appears more black, but where it's proposed deck expansion, where these horizontal and vertical lines are, that is what the HARB was looking at. HARB saw no problem with this. Again, this is in the back of the home on a 2002 house, and HARB recommended approval unanimously of a certificate of appropriateness for this improvement as well.
Thank you. Any board questions or comments? Any public comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness for the installation of a fence at 9 Catherine Lane?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Charlie?
Okay, thank you. We're back in Maple Hill. You may remember that last month you approved a fence at 11 Catherine Lane. 9 Catherine Lane is right next door, and they are completing the enclosure of their rear yard with the same fence that 11 put up, so that they, on both sides of the rear yard of 9, will have the same type of fence. It is a 4.5-foot fence. 11 is right here where I'm showing my cursor. This is 9. These are the fence segments that will be put in. And you may remember this picture. This is a picture of the proposed fence, exactly the same fence as was approved last month for 11. And this improvement has received the approval of the Homeowners Association. And HARB again yesterday at their meeting recommended unanimously approval of this certificate of appropriateness as well.
Thanks, Charlie. Any board questions or comments? Do we have any public comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness for the installation of a shed at 4030 Penn Road?
So moved. Second.
Charlie?
Thank you. This is the 5th and final application that HARB looked at yesterday, slightly different area of the township. Marple Lane, as you know, intersects down into Germantown Pike. Pilgrim Road does the same. Penn Road is a cul-de-sac off of Pilgrim Road. And at the very end of Penn Road is a lot addressed at 4030 Penn Road. This lot and the adjacent lot are the only 2 lots that are in the historic district. The boundary ends right here. The rest of Penn Road is not in the historic district. Obviously, as you go left on this map and west toward Marple and toward Butler Pike, all of this land is obviously part of the historic district. This property fronts on Penn Road, but also has extensive frontage on Marple Lane, which in zoning terms means it has a front yard on both, which creates a little bit of a constraint on where they could put the shed. But together with the applicant, we were able to determine the location. In this location to the side of the existing house. This is a little hard to see, but the house is basically here facing the cul-de-sac. The shed, which will be 10 by 16, is replacing an older 8 by 8 shed, which is in a slightly different location, which today would not be legal. So this meets all the zoning requirements, and this is a concept of what the shed would look like. And again, Harb reviewed this yesterday and found no issues with it and recommended unanimously approval of the certificate of appropriateness to replace the old shed with this slightly larger shed in the location I just showed you.
Very good, thank you. Do we have any board comments or questions? Any public comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, folks, we are now at the public comment period of our meeting. So I'd like to open it up for public comments.
I'd like to make some comments, please. Sidel Zoe, Parks Ridge Road. I
Sure.
want to thank the Board of Supervisors for your hard work and efforts over the past year, particularly during this COVID period. But I especially want to thank you. You made early on in 2020 to circulate to the public all of the documentation that you have access to when reviewing proposals from developers and owners. That was a real advance, a real demonstration of your commitment to transparency, and certainly helped to encourage the informed participation of the White Marsh citizenry. So thank you very much for making that decision. I hope moving forward that you make similar decisions that enhance citizen participation and further the notion of transparency. Thank you very much for your efforts. Thank you for making that very specific change, and best wishes for a happy and healthy and safe year ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Sidel. Other public comments?
If I could,
Yes, and who is this?
this is Deborah Harris.
Go ahead, Deborah.
I just wanted to read a brief statement. The Land Stewardship Working Group worked hard to craft a concise, impactful resolution that the Environmental Advisory Board voted unanimously to send to the attention of the Board of Supervisors. The resolution asks the township step forward to become an exemplar of environmental stewardship, and as such be an inspiration and a model of environmental best practices to the community and to the greater area. The resolution contains 6 finite and achievable steps. We ask that each member of the Board of Supervisors please read the resolution carefully and take time to consider the positive impacts of adopting stewardship as the township's guiding principle in environmental care, and recognize the concrete and varied benefits to be gained from implementation of the included steps. We look forward to continuing engagement with the Board of Supervisors and the township in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm interested in making a comment.
Go ahead. And this is Luann?
Yes. Good evening, supervisors, and thank you for your time. My request is for you to sign on to a letter from elected local officials across our state in support of the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, RGGI or RGGI. I'll email the letter for you all tomorrow. As you know, I'm chair of the White Marsh Renewable Energy Transition Team and vice chair of the White Marsh EAB. Yet I'm speaking now as a resident of White Marsh and a leader of Montco Ready for 100 to encourage you to support an urgent PA state initiative that's going to enable us to reach the goal of a 100% clean energy transition of our energy transition plan, switching to 100% clean energy, wind and solar by 2035, and 100% clean building, heat, and vehicles by 2050. As a supervisor in White Marsh Township, your voice is important in Harrisburg. Governor Wolf and the state legislature pay attention to what our elected municipal leaders think about proposed policies. We can be proud that White Marsh EAB is working on solving problems that most municipalities don't even recognize we have yet. I'm grateful also for our White Marsh supervisors and our township manager, Sean Halbum's leadership with the White Marsh Energy Audit. He's been a leader in the Montgomery County Consortium of Communities, stepping up as a consortium executive as part of a municipal climate change and greenhouse gas emission plans, working on that. He's been working on municipal sustainability plans and municipal sustainability ordinance reviews. I'd like to read to you the letter in support of RGGI that I'd like you to sign on to. Dear members of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Environmental Quality Board, we write to you to express our support for the proposal for Pennsylvania to take part in the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, RGGI, that's what they call it, to cut climate change pollution from electric power plants. As legislators and local government officials, we're seeing the threats that climate change pose to our community. Changing climate patterns are leading to more frequent extreme storms like what we had on June 2nd that produce flooding and landslides, cause infrastructure damage and power outages, and strain emergency services. Increased pollution and hotter weather combine to increase health risks for Pennsylvanians with respiratory ailments like asthma. Many of us represent constituents who've historically suffered disproportionately from environmental harms and who now stand on the front lines of climate change's impact. We know that we're working to do our part to cut greenhouse gas emissions, reduce taxpayers' energy costs, and make our communities more sustainable. RGGI can support these goals at the state level. Its market-based approach limits carbon pollution from power plants and requires polluters to offset the societal and health costs caused by their pollution. The proceeds from the program can be invested in renewable energy and energy efficiency advancements that will create local jobs, lower energy costs, promote innovation, and further reduce greenhouse gas pollution. RGGI has delivered significant benefits in the 10 states where it already operates: job creation, consumer energy savings, cleaner air, and better health. We owe the people of Pennsylvania the same opportunities. According to expert analysis, RGGI can produce a 21% reduction in carbon pollution, more than 27,000 jobs, and an injection of $1.9 billion into Pennsylvania's economy and $6 billion in health benefits through 2030. We support RGGI as a common sense and effective step to tackle climate change, protect the public's health, and secure Pennsylvania's clean energy. I just want to say that this week, our neighbor, Springfield Township, all 7 commissioners passed and signed on to this letter. And I urge you also to sign on to it. I'll send you a letter tomorrow. And I have to say, as much as I would like to do things appropriately to go through the EAB, there's so much happening right now around climate change, around legislation, that it's all coming so quickly, it doesn't fit into the schedules that we have. So we're kind of asked to step up and do things a little different than business as usual. And so that's why I'm here today and trying to get your support. The deadlines on signing on for this are now, because in the next, between now and January, that's when this letter is going to have impact. So I ask you to take a look at it and sign on. You can sign on as individuals or as a whole board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have other comments?
I'd like to comment. It's a little out of order, although what Luann talked about was in line with the Environmental Advisory Board, who provided you with the resolution that Deborah talked about. It's a little disappointing that that was not part of the agenda at tonight's Board of Supervisors meeting to at least be presented and gone into. We are in the midst of a climate emergency. We don't have time to be kicking the can down the road. We need to change behaviors in White Marsh Township drastically. You know that I have been talking about this for quite some time now. And frankly, I don't really see the kinds of changes that I believe are necessary. I want to read for you from the White Marsh Code, which established the Environmental Advisory Board. This is under powers and duties. To identify environmental problems and recommend plans and programs to the appropriate township board and or commission for the promotion and conservation of the natural resources and for the protection and improvement of the quality environment within the township limits. And for years now, there seems to have been a pushback for the Environmental Advisory Board doing its job of advising the Board of Supervisors. I certainly hope that with the resolution from the land working group that you will take the advice of residents of the township who live here, who know things, and are willing to teach you, the Board of Supervisors, different ways of accomplishing things. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have other comments?
I would just like to ask Luann, when you send that letter, if you could also send ancillary materials that would help us to put the letter in context, that would be helpful.
I have more material than you have time to look at, so yes.
I don't want all of it, just some of the more relevant material.
I'll pick the best fruit.
Great, thank you.
Do we have any other comments?
If I could,
Tam.
I'd take one.
Sure.
Tam Politz, and I'm on Edmonds Road. I just wanted to add to the comments regarding the EAB working group resolution. And I just wanted to express my concern about the urgency of addressing this as well. One thing that we haven't really addressed significantly in this township to date has been habitat loss. And, you know, we've all heard plenty about the problems with global warming and stormwater and carbon emissions and all that sort of thing. But scientists are really starting to send up the alarms these days about species loss and habitat degradation and fragmentation. It didn't used to be so much of a problem because there were lots of natural areas around our townships, but now development has spread to the point where there's not much room for nature anymore. And we have to start thinking about putting nature back into the places where we're living. I was absolutely shocked to see this one statistic. Invertebrate abundance, that's the number of insects, has been reduced by 45% globally over a period of 40 years. That was from 1974 to 2014. 45% of the abundance of insects over 40 years. Well within my lifetime, and for many of you, probably most of the people here in this meeting tonight. And that's terrifying because the insect connection between plants and every other living thing is a key to our survival. And if we keep losing at this rate, we won't have humanity. So I really urge you to take this very seriously, and hopefully you'll be considering this resolution quickly and seriously. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Tam.
I'd like to speak, please.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Karen Kabnick, and I recently joined the working group that Eli and Deborah and Tam have been discussing. And I want to super emphasize what the three of them have addressed, as well as what Lou Anne Merkel spoke of. This is a crisis at the moment. And many of us have children. My son lives in California and has been exposed to the horrible air quality that has resulted from climate change induced fires. We all care about the future of the planet, but we must act locally. We must think globally, but act locally. And I want to emphasize what Tam just said about the habitat destruction, and point out that reestablishing these habitats will not only improve the biodiversity that will, reinstate the biodiversity that Tam referred to, but it will also help mitigate the issues of climate change. It will also help improve the stormwater management issues. It will help health issues. It is not only, though it certainly is, it is not only about habitat destruction or carbon that Lou Anne Merkel was talking about, but altogether it will better serve us in the future and help us to mitigate these issues of climate, of this current climate disaster. So I implore you to read the document that the EIB put forward to you, and most importantly, to hire that land manager who will be a professional who can speak to the ways that we need to be reestablishing our biodiversity, our native habitats, and even better serve the landscape management that is currently needs some help. We need to have better environmental ways to take care of our parks as well. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Karen. Other comments?
This is Sidel Zove again, and I didn't intend to speak to this, but given that there's been so many comments on that EAB resolution, I feel compelled to jump in. I did attend that EAB meeting, and I raised this point there, heard nothing, dead silence in response. So I'm going to raise it here. There is a very practical opportunity, easy and practical opportunity for the township to begin to address some of the issues in that EAB resolution. And that has to do with one of the SALDO, the subdivision and land development ordinances in the township, which requires that there be a 10% of total site area set aside for park and recreation space. That's the requirement. There is an option available at the discretion of the supervisors to allow a fee in lieu. That is to allow the applicant, the developer, to pay a fee to the township in lieu of setting aside open space for park and recreation purposes. In a very easy and practical way, the Board of Supervisors can decide as a matter of policy, as a matter of concern for the environment, for the preservation of the tree canopy and natural and open areas, to say to developers, we're no longer inviting fees in lieu. It's an option, but we're no longer going to entertain that option. We want you to keep 10% of your site area open for the preservation of trees and open space. And if that results in a net reduction in units, so be it. So I would encourage this board to fully research and understand, comprehend, and appreciate this tool that it already has within the SALDO, within the subdivision and land development ordinance. It's chapter 105, I believe it's 105-53D 1A. Take a look at that and understand that you have this tool available to begin to pivot the conversation. And it's important that if you do that, that the staff are brought along with you, that the staff who engage with the applicants and the developers understand that you've made an important policy decision that will pivot the discussion moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Sidel. Steve?
Yes, I'd like to comment. Sidel got me off the point I was going to make, but I'm going to get back to it as quickly as possible. I have been concerned that the comment letters from the township engineer characterize that section of SALDO as being permissive. In other words, a developer can opt to do a fee or opt to dedicate land for public use. And that's not how the ordinance reads. And that's just one example of a number of ways in which we are not getting the right message to developers. And we're kind of developing kind of a loose white marsh tradition that certain portions of our code don't matter very much. That's not what I wanted to go into. I take a different approach a little bit than the EAB, but I'm inspired by what they're doing. I see a real need for better stewardship of township-owned land. The other thing, which I think I'm not proposing this seriously, but I feel sometimes as if we need a functional equivalent of that, of the consumer advocates that various public utilities commissions fund. It's almost as if we need a excuse me, I'm getting a message here that maybe I'm not coming through. It's almost as if we need an advocate for the environment. I don't mean that literally, but it needs to be built into each township action and movement. Can I be heard, by the way, now?
It changed, Steve. I can hear you a little bit, but it is more muted sounding.
Okay, I'm not sure what's going on. Is it better now?
Yes. You're good. You're good.
Anyway, I'm just making a point that township ordinances need to be applied. And I just gave an example of the township engineer's letter stating the choice to do fee in lieu versus dedication of land as being in the hands of the developer, whereas it's up to the supervisor. Many other examples. But getting back to what Luann and Tam and everybody else has been saying, I think we do need advocacy built into the township structures, not just land maintenance. And I'm not sure how it gets funded or how it works, but we need someone to be pushing the environment consistently. The other thing is that I think of actually an old hymn, "Once to every man and nation." There's a line that says, "New occasions teach new duties." And we are in that new occasion situation with global warming that's recognized by the comprehensive plan. And I see, for example, the Chubb withdrawal as potentially being a fire bell in the night. That perhaps a developer there is looming. And that's an area of great environmental sensitivity, wetlands and whatnot, largely destroyed when ACE came in 20 years ago. It's an area that could be restored through, in combination with sensible development. The only way that really happens is if the township can move quickly and reinforce its existing ordinances conservation overlay, steep slopes, etc. Charlie himself has said that there's improvements that need to be made to the conservation district. So I hope the supervisors can move as quickly as practical on that. I very much appreciate that you put $30,000 in the capital budget for zoning change, but I hope that that can go forward quickly with the hiring of a consultant with particular focus on the conservation overlay. But again, congratulations for getting that in the budget. Congratulations on the Highlands. Congratulations, as Sadell was saying, on this openness so that us development geeks can look at everything. And good luck for new year.
Thanks, Steve. Any other comments?
Can I just speak briefly? I'd like to speak, this is Deborah. I'd like
Yep.
to speak in support of Luann's Reggie proposal. I was really kind of unaware of it. I read the materials that she have, and there's particularly a video that it is included that's by the state of Pennsylvania, and it's wonderful, and it really clarifies what this can do. Governor Wolf has asked the state to prepare to join Reggie. There's resistance by the legislature, as in so many areas. And so showing support for Governor Wolf and for this proposal, I really support the township doing that.
Thanks, Deb.
Thank you.
Other comments?
I know this looks a little odd, but as vice chair of the EAB, I totally support Deborah's resolution. It's well thought out by a whole community of people, and I hope that the board passes it and takes seriously the idea that we're at a place where our environment's very threatened, and there's a community of people in White Marsh who have a vision and are ready to back it. And what we need is board support for a position and for a plan. And I think if you have a plan, you're ready to go with change. You can begin to protect things on a deeper level. And I think the plan that Deborah and that committee, the stewardship committee, has presented is worthy of serious attention. So thank you.
Thank you, Luann. Do we have other comments?
If I could, and I'd kind of wrap all of these discussions together here with just a comment at the end to ensure you all that we are hyper aware of the environmental and the habitat issues that you've raised. And we've discussed them at length at the Planning Commission. They are a foundation of the comprehensive plan update. If you look at the introduction to that document, you'll see a discussion regarding habitat, preservation of habitat as being a part of the driving vision for that document. And those goals will be reflected as we move forward with implementation of that plan through zoning code changes. So thank you for raising them again, and rest assured that we will consider them as we implement this plan.
Could I just briefly respond? I see this as about action. And there's a lot of low-hanging fruit out there that doesn't cost a lot of money to implement. We could plant 500 trees in a year easily on White Marsh Township property with very little cost. There's grant money out there. There are organizations like the Pennsylvania Horticulture Society, who's now involved in planting 1 million trees in the city of Philadelphia. These are wonderful opportunities to bring in volunteers to bring these things about. And we should be able to do that. These are immediate actions that can be done. They're small, but they are actions.
That's a great recommendation. And as we begin this implementation, we're going to look to everyone for recommendations. So what I would invite you to do, Eli, as well as others, if you have recommendations for low-hanging fruit, as you call it, or other things that we can do in our near-term implementation, please put those in writing and send them to us. And as we put the committee together and begin to take action, we will consider them.
What committee?
The staff.
See, that's the thing. The committee of why are not people from the public involved in this? You know, there are, again, people.
I'm suggesting the way that you can get involved. At this point, put your thoughts in writing and send them to us, and we'll consider them.
All have been said and done many times before.
All right, or don't do it. It's up to you.
So I'm just going to jump in and say, you know, I hear everybody. There's a lot of passion, clearly, and I think that we are all wanting the best interest for everybody in our environment, and that's been clear. That comes across very clearly. So moving forward, this is the close of our meeting for this year of 2020. But please know that you have been heard, and we're going to look at the resolution that was mentioned. And Luann, what you mentioned, I hear that, and I appreciate everybody's comments. At this point, I'm going to say, do we have any other board member comments?
I just want to say, first of all, happy Hanukkah to everybody who celebrates. And once again, our fire departments have been out there today with the Hanukkah parade, our first Hanukkah parade. I heard them go past, and I heard Michael's dog barking in the background. It drives people crazy, but our fire departments have done a great job in keeping our community spirits up during this terrible pandemic. And I want to wish everybody a very happy holiday season, a very happy new year as we get into 2021 with a lot of hope. We have a lot of great things going on in White Marsh Township as we get into 2021, and we're going to be very excited to talk about those. So anyway, enjoy the holidays, get some rest, stay safe, and wear your mask. Thank you.
Thanks, Fran. That's well said. I couldn't have said it any better. Happy Hanukkah to everyone, and happy holidays. Safe travels or no travels. Any other board comments? Okay, I'd like to announce that we did have an executive session tonight where we discussed litigation and real estate. Our next meeting will be our reorganization meeting, which is at an unusual time. It is according to our home rule charter. So it is Monday, January 4th at 8 p.m. And take care, everybody. Wish you well. Good night, White Marsh.